Can y'all eat these little tomatoes like grapes? Because I can. So I've been wanting to start a YouTube channel for forever, and I need to swallow. I didn't know what to start with or how to start, so I just did something really simple. So a lot of my friends or family will ask relationship-based questions to me, which is really funny because I'm single as a Pringle. I try my best to give the most reasonable, practical, godly advice possible whenever it comes to relationships. You'd assume that people would look and be like, oh, you've never been in a real relationship, so you don't know how to give that kind of advice. I haven't been in a real relationship yet because I know what to do and what not to do, at least for myself personally. I just asked a bunch of my friends on Instagram, hey, ask me questions on the slide up thing, and then I said that I was going to answer them to the best of my ability. Here we go. Chrissy, stop snoring. You want to see Chrissy? Come here. Come here. Look at her in all her glory. Look at that tail just to go and... Oh, sorry. Need to censor that. Again, I want to preface this before I start. I have never been in a serious relationship before. I've been pretty close once to kind of claiming like boyfriend, girlfriend type deal. That being said, this is what I'm looking for the future, or how I can apply like what little bit of relationship knowledge I have from previous relationships to now. So question number 1 is, what is your definition of a godly relationship? For me, when I think of a godly relationship, like what I want for my future, I always think of someone who brings me closer to God. I don't think about someone who I'm constantly having to drag behind me spiritually, if that makes sense. For example, I don't believe that there should be either just the guy or the girl be the spiritual leader in a dating relationship, in the sense that one depends on the other to lead them. I think that you should guide each other. When I'm around you, you make me love God more. People will be and have such anxiety based off of their relationships, and they stay in those relationships and they're like, well, everybody's got to work through something. If you have anxiety, get out. Next question. How important is godly counsel while dating? I think it's so important because every time I've ever considered somebody, I've always sought counsel, and they've either told me like, this could possibly be a thing, and 90% of the time it's more like, nope, say thank you next, move on, because that is not the one for you. There's been so many times where I disagreed with my godly counsel and I still pursued it a little bit further, and I always ended up getting kind of hurt or like let down in the end. No. Did you call me? You didn't say nothing? I thought you said, hey, Caden. I think it's important to have more than one set of people you can go to, or one person to go to. You need to know from people who it really, really worked out for and everything went right. But you need to know also from people where it didn't go so well, maybe in the beginning, or maybe they had like a rough start, because then you can see like this worked, and then you can see also the things that did not work and the things you want to avoid when you're getting into a relationship. The Bible doesn't give us a clear outline of what it looks like to date, and I have a list of people. Like if I'm interested in somebody, I'll run them through several people. Have a few people in your life who have successful marriages that you can go to. But yeah, godly counsel is so important. Like, so important. Horses in the back. Next question. What is your opinion on online dating? Okay. I've never made an online dating profile. I don't think that I ever will. All I'm gonna say is that the way that people communicate has changed so much over the past few years. I mean, there was a time when the telephone was invented that I'm sure people were like, you're talking to him on the phone and not going on dates to get to know him, you know what I mean? And so now there's like all these different avenues to meet people. I'm not saying hard yes or hard no. I know several people who've gotten into relationships based off of an online dating profile, and they're in good, godly relationships. Some of them are married, some of them are working towards marriage, and it has been phenomenal. I've also heard a lot of horror stories from people from online dating relationships or those apps. I feel like if you are walking with the Holy Spirit daily and you are sensitive to his voice, I feel like you'll know if it's something that you can or can't venture into. I don't know enough about it. I'm not promoting it or condoning it. So, oh wait, that's the same thing. Next question. Would you do long distance, and how would you do that? I don't know why. Ever since I was a teenager, I've always said that I could do long distance. I have no idea why. Short answer, yes, I would do long distance. Is it desirable or optimal? No, I'd prefer something different, but I would do it. How would I do that? Communication is so important. I feel like just as if you guys were in the same town, prioritize time to talk to them and communicate with them. I could not date somebody that I have not met in person yet, because I want to see like how you eat. I want to see how you shop. I want to see, like there's just things that I feel like you need to see firsthand before you decide to jump into a relationship. You feel like going on dates is a healthy way to figure out what you like in a husband. I think it depends on the person. Personally, I can hang out with somebody in a group setting and find out if I like them. So I've never been on like a real one-on-one, just you and me go out to eat, something like that. I've never been on a date like that, and I still know what I'm looking for whenever it comes to a husband. So I don't think it's necessary. I think you can find that out for yourself through other ways. Who was it? What's her last name? Taya. She's a worship leader. Hold on, I'm gonna find her. Taya, I bet it's like Smith. It is Smith. Taya Smith. She said, I think in the church world, we overemphasize what it means to go on a date a lot. So like when you go out for coffee with someone, it is just coffee. You don't need to be like planning your kids' names, what kind of colors he likes to plan for the wedding. I think when you overemphasize it, that's why people get so anxious whenever it comes to dating, because they're like, oh, if I go on a date, I'm basically married. But I don't think you should undermine it either. See it for what it is. I don't think it's necessary for you to find out what you want in a husband based off of like one-on-one dating. Now, if that's you, like, that you do you, boo-boo, that's not me. I would rather get to know in a group setting that you're not somebody I want to be with versus us go on dates and me start to get emotionally attached and then me realize, oh snap, this isn't what I wanted. Next question. Lost. How do you get a clean slate, like emotionally, after an unhealthy relationship? That's tough, and this is a really good question. I've never been in a real relationship, but I got really, really close one time. This was a few years back, so we were younger. One of the things that he did that I had gotten used to is if I would say like, hey, you want to go hang out or you want to go do this with us or whatever, he would always say like, maybe, I don't know, like we'll see. It wasn't that he was trying to come across like he didn't care, because I know he did. It's just he didn't know how to communicate his feelings. I had the mentality that he just didn't really care, and he kind of like tolerated me. That was never his intention. He was an amazing guy, but that was just how he handled things whenever we were that age. And so I kind of had the mentality for a little while that whenever I get into a relationship, I'm going to be tolerated. They may not want to be around me all the time. They're just going to kind of like tolerate me. And that was wrong. I remember physically writing out, I'd write down the things that I did like in the friendship that we had that was building towards a relationship, or I'd write down the things that I didn't like. I encourage you, write down physically the things that you do not want and the things that you do want, so whenever someone else comes around, you can look at that list and say, do they make me feel any of these things? Good stuff. How do you learn to trust another boyfriend or girlfriend after a bad relationship? First, recognize that not everybody is not the same. The last guy who hurt you really, really bad, this next guy is not the same person as that. To me, trust is something that is earned, and it's not something that's just like given. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, and you don't know if you can trust somebody. Pastor John said this one time. It was so good. He said, oh crud, what did he say? It was a quote. He quoted from someone else. Oh, dang it. I don't know, but it was basically communicating the idea that I don't know if I can trust you or not until you have an opportunity to betray my trust. Hopefully you trust somebody before you get into a relationship with them, because then again, there's a process. We jump straight into dating when we feel like pulled to each other, when maybe we're just meant to be friends. Instead of getting to know somebody to date them, which is how I feel like it should be, we date people to get to know them. And I don't think that's the right order. How do you deal with relationship anxiety? I used to be the worst about this. I would like really hardcore like be crushing on someone, and then they would like ask me out and I'd be like, oh no, I don't like them. When in reality I had really bad relationship anxiety. I think really recognizing things for what they are. It's gonna sound so simple to just say like, give it to God, but like genuinely pray and say, God, help me to make conscious decisions that feed my relationship with you instead of feeding relationship anxiety, if that makes sense. I used to get stressed out really easy and get anxiety over small stuff, and how I got through that, it's so simple. I basically changed my mentality from what if it doesn't work out, what if it does, what if we have to take another step, and I changed it to, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, cool, that means God has something better down the road. Instead of looking at it as like, this is my only opportunity to get it right. This is the one God made for me, and if it doesn't work out, like, let go of that mindset, because it is so captivating, and not in a good way. It's so, what's the word? Ensnaring? Is that a word? Entrapping. It traps you. If you love God and if you're trying your best to live according to His will and what He wants for you, He's not going to stick you with somebody that you're not even going to like and you're not going to have complete joy with. He's not going to stick you with somebody you'll be unhappy with. If it works out with this guy, awesome. If it doesn't work out with this guy, then that's okay. He'll find someone else, I'll find someone else. In 10 years, we'll all be married anyway. So not all, but like me, hopefully. Dear Jesus, please. Next question. You crushing on someone with the eye emojis that are like, Y'all so nosy. No. I wish I had something really exciting to tell you, but not right now. Not really, no. I'm just kind of cruising, you know, doing my thing. Next question is, how can I get a text back with a really distressed emoji? Girl, if I knew, I'd tell you. No, I'm kidding. If you're dating and someone is not texting you back, you need to communicate that with them. That is not okay. But I was talking to one of my friends like a year ago, and he was just like, Caden, guys don't text back a lot. And he was like, we're not good at texting back. We don't like to text, most of us. Now, it's not every guy, but that's what he was saying. At the time, I think he was engaged. No, he was married. And he said, I love my wife with everything in me. She used to get upset because I didn't communicate to her that I just don't like texting. I would much rather be there with her to communicate with her. Don't get discouraged, but at the same time, if you know deep down, like you know if he is not feeling the same way and you're still trying to push it, just let it go. If you know that he's really not trying to keep the conversation going, just let it go. All right, next question. What do you do when your man is afraid to take the next step because of the responsibility and he says he doesn't know if he'll ever get over that anxiety? I'm assuming that when you say your man, that you're either dating and you're wanting to get engaged, or you're engaged and you're wanting to get married. Definitely don't rush somebody into that, because I feel like more harm than good will be done if you try to force somebody to be ready. At the same time, if you're at the phase of life where you're like, I'm ready to get married, I'm ready to settle down, and you feel like that's what God desires for you in this season of your life, I think you need to communicate that to him. I am such a confronter. I'm a very like, if I have an issue with you, you will know, because I'll be like, hey, we need to talk. All my friends will testify. If I have an issue, we will sit down, we will talk it out. I will not hide anything or hold anything back. If you have an issue with that and you're ready and he's not, I think that definitely needs to be communicated. You need to seek counsel. That's what you're doing, isn't it? For me, personally, I have a strong desire to be married eventually. If I was with somebody and they said, you know, I just don't know if I'm ready to take that step, or I'm wanting to go into that step, I would probably say, okay, well then I'm gonna take a step back. We're gonna regroup, because this is what I desire. This is why I think it's so important to get to know somebody before you date. I think it's so important to get to know this person so that you can know how they feel about things like marriage and future and all that kind of good stuff before you get to the point where you're ready to take that step. I'm the kind of person, I'm going to know before we start dating, how do you feel about marriage? How do you feel about kids? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's something that you have to be like, fill out this, you know what I mean? But you get the gist of it. We're young adults. That's all we talk about when we're around each other. Get to know each other as friends before you start dating, so you don't get stuck. If I were you, I would sit down with him and genuinely communicate your desire to be married, with also letting him know that you're not trying to rush him. And if the desire to be married is from God, then he will heal that guy of the anxiety that he has, or God will provide you with somebody who won't have that. And the next question is future relationship. It just says future relationship. When people ask me what I'm looking for in a husband, I always say I just want somebody who loves Jesus with everything that he is, has a huge heart for people. I do really want to marry someone in full-time ministry, and then I want somebody who has really good style or will let me dress him. Style is very important to me. Clearly, if you can't tell by my hoops and cool t-shirt. Can you see it? Faith without hustle is dead. Thank you. That is all the questions and all that I have to say. If you have any questions, feel free to message me, comment down below, and let me know. Thank you for joining me on my first ever YouTube video. I'm so excited about this, and I'll catch you on the flip side. That was lame. I'll catch you later. And bye. Beautiful people, top designer clothes, front row fashion show.